I have a very unusual self-defense weapon to show you this time. We're looking at an old cane, as you can tell, and it's a self-defense one, part of this greater phenomenon called gadget canes. And canes were once a ubiquitous fashion accessory, kind of hard to imagine now. But for a long time, that's the way it was, so cane makers came up with a wide variety of what were called, as you can imagine, gadget canes. So multi-purpose tools like this patented fruit picker cane. You can walk around with it, it looks nice, and of course you can use it to pick your fruit. A little bit more complicated, a sailor's navigational cane. So look how this thing breaks down. Amazing craftsmanship. I'm sure it was an expensive purchase back then, and it sure is today as well if you want to buy the antique. So here's a monocle. You get the idea. You can put a picture of your wife or daughter, whoever, up there, and then watch the opera through your monocle. This one here I thought was amusing. Qualifies for free shipping and gift wrapping. Yeah, better for almost $9,000. And just one more because I can't help myself. I love these things. An artist's cane. But you can probably guess the kind that interests me the most, defense canes. I've shown a couple on my channel. Here's one. They were both rifle canes, and they are what they sound like they are. They're a cane and a rifle at the same time. Most of them, I've seen a lot, but not that I've ever done a real study, but most of them, I would say, are kind of camouflaged weapons as well. And then once in a while you get something like this. Here's another snippet from another video I made on this subject, and this one I got to hold obviously does not try to hide its nature as a weapon. Kind of funny, actually. Functional because it's right there ready to use, but not exactly gonna give you the element of surprise. This here that I just scrolled up past from my channel is a more typical configuration. Anyway, so you'll see different things like this, including this one here, which is not one I got to examine. But there was a much simpler and older type of self-defense cane, and you can probably guess what it is, which is a sword or knife cane. No shortage of these were made, and when it comes to the sword variety, like here, you can get this, super long needle, just an absolute pig sticker, or you can get more of an actual sword blade here. I mean, it's not very wide, but it's much wider than the last one we saw. Some makers even went to the trouble to figure out how to provide a crossguard to their owners, like in the middle cane seen here. Now, the two on the bottom here are both sword canes, but the one up top is not. Notice it basically has a breech where you would load ammunition, so is that a type of rifle cane? Well, not too worried about that one. Here's the one we're going to look at today, patented by the Eclipse Corporation or whatever it was, as you can see. And it is a firearm, but what's really odd about this one is it's a blowgun-powered firearm cane. And you heard that right. This is a breath-powered hammer, basically, right? Your breath powers the hammer, which strikes the cartridge. And yes, this was a thing. How much of a thing, I can't say, but I can say this is not the only one of these that you'll see on the antiques market. Here's another one, circa 1890, .32 caliber center fire. The trick is that you have to twist off the top of the fixture in order to reveal the blow piece. The description here goes into a little bit more detail, but basically, yeah, that's how it works. Air pushes the pin forward. Obviously, this kind of thing has to be preloaded, be pretty useless in a self-defense situation if you had to disassemble it, load it, then unscrew the cap, then put it up to your mouth. And the whole design does not reek of practicality. I mean, just even the part where you have to unscrew one component so you can get to the blow piece. I mean, that alone is problematic if all of a sudden you're being attacked on the street. And this really is a bizarre way to go about providing someone with a stealth firearm in their walking stick. And if you want some specs on this one, it's 35 inches long tip to tip, 22.5-inch barrel, and it's a .30 caliber. You have to wonder a couple of things about this. One, did anybody actually carry this for self-defense purposes, or was it more of a fun toy to show off? Here's a different one, by the way, so you can see the blow piece. But back to the novelty and amusement factor, was that the main selling point? Would you you're sitting in the park and you, shoot a bird with it, or on your property, something like that? On your property makes more sense than in a park, come to think of it. But anyway, we don't know for sure, at least I don't. We can see that ours here is kind of beat up on the top too. Maybe somebody had to defend themselves and didn't have anywhere near the time to load it, unscrew the cap, etc., so they just used it as a bludgeon. See the dent right there that we're talking about? But who knows? Could have just been from normal wear and tear. You know, the Victorian era, Victorian England, they had a fascination with, like, quote-unquote exotic locations and weapons. Like, there's a blowgun, a traditional old-fashioned blowgun in a Sherlock Holmes story. And Victorian gentlemen just loved reading about, traditional indigenous weapons, war clubs from the Pacific, the knob carries of the Zulus, you name it. So maybe combining that fascination with a, quote-unquote modern weapon is how this bizarre contraption was born. And as you can see here, somebody went to the trouble to patent this thing. So if nothing else, for whatever reason, we know somebody thought there would be a market for this kind of thing, and it appears that there was. Pretty neat, pretty strange. I would not want to count on this thing in a life and death struggle, far from it. A couple of interesting pro tips regarding these. You were supposed to, at least with this one, and I saw this in write-ups of other models as well, you're supposed to tip this up slightly when blowing so that the firing pin would make proper contact, so that's kind of weird. Also, and I can't believe I hadn't thought of this myself until I read about it, safety measures were in place to control the recoil, because putting a firearm, no matter how, anemic, up against your mouth and then using it that way is as crazy as it sounds. So there were these valves that you probably saw there in the video before to release some of the pressure. Of course, consequently, you'd lose power, making me again question if it was a realistic self-defense implement. And on that note, something I don't think I mentioned yet is that the one we're looking at today felt really flimsy if you were ever going to use it as a baton. Now, the rifle canes I've shown on my channel before, that's different. Those would definitely do the job. Maybe that's proof that today's is just more of an innocent curiosity. But anyway, an interesting way to go about using your cane to defend yourself, at least theoretically, compared to the standard, which we're seeing a picture of here. Thanks for watching.